Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 2 of season 5 of our F124 driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here in Albert Park, Australia. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Bahrain, the championship, the season opener, I would highly recommend going back and check it out. We had quite a dramatic race out in Sakir. It left us obviously with a lot of surprises, a lot of intrigue and interest as we return to the land down under this weekend, of course. George Russell ended up with pole position, fastest lap, and the race victory, despite leading about 4 laps over the course of the entire race. Max Verstappen actually dominated most of the afternoon there, but couldn't walk away with the victory after a late race red flag. Oscar Piastri in P3 ahead of Perez, and we got a P5 on debut for Mercedes as well. We lacked a little bit of pace throughout most of the weekend, but it all came up good right towards the end of the day. Of course, if you're new around here and you aren't already, please do as well consider getting yourselves subscribed. I want to try and hit 140k by the end of the year. So yeah, if you can help us get one step closer, it would be greatly appreciated. But anyway, let's head out then here to Albert Park into qualifying.
Hello everyone, it is time for qualifying at one of our very favourite stops on the calendar. It's Albert Park and we're about to take the cars right up to the edge.
Well, here we are then for qualifying in Albert Park, and I'm hoping this time round we can try and see ourselves into Q2. Inside the top 10 even. There's no qualifying 1, 2 and 3 anymore. Let me know obviously your thoughts and feelings on the new kind of series idea this season. Like I mentioned in pre-season, it was mainly just used to try and aid hopefully a little more unpredictability in qualifying, because of course normally, you know, most sessions were pretty predictable over the course of last season. It kind of felt like Q1 and Q2 were often busy work there, but Verstappen looking early on like he's going to storm to pole position here. He looked rapid right the way through free practice as well. And I think would like to rewrite the wrongs of last weekend as we make our way down into the chicane. Oh, absolutely send it there. This car has got good high-speed downforce as here comes Lando Norris in the McLaren car. Oh, nice and easy. Don't want to make a mistake towards the end of the lap. It's been a really nice lap time. Oh, up to this point there as we just nudge the curb in through the final sector. Like I said, aiming for a top 10 as Verstappen gets back to the front through the final corner. Open up the throttle, use that DRS. We drop a few places towards the line, but it is P9. We're inside the top 10 for the first time this season. Well, there we go. Verstappen will claim pole position for the first time this year ahead of Lando Norris and Fernando Alonso. Sergio Perez, decent effort up in P4 ahead of Russell, Lance Stroll and the 2 Ferraris. 9th place for us. Seemingly this Mercedes just lacks a little bit of pace on Saturday afternoon, but we do get the better of Lewis Hamilton this time, so I guess, you know, we can take that momentum into the Grand Prix as well. Speaking of which, we've got 29 laps here from Albert Park. Let's do this thing.
Welcome to magnificent Melbourne in the Australian sun. This is a fantastic city and it's a fantastic and slightly revised racetrack. We're in the great state of Victoria, now 14 corners and 3.28 miles for the drivers to navigate, 5 to the left and 9 to the right. The track has been remodeled to encourage more overtaking. Let's hope we get loads of it today. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday and he'll start from pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Perez, Russell, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Fittipaldi, Firestarter, Ocon, Gasly, Sainz, Tsunoda, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Iwasa, Albon, Vesti, Joe and Ollie Behrman. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
Alright, this is Mark. Can you hear me okay? We're further back than we hoped, I know, but we can still get a good result from here.
Yeah, I can only qualify so high up the order mark when this car seemingly just lacks pace on a Saturday afternoon. But once again, just like in Bahrain, 29 laps ahead of us, and we're going to stick with exactly the same strategy as well. Tyre wear shouldn't be as bad here as it was in the championship opener, but yeah, obviously with, you know, the Red Bulls at the front of the order, the McLarens looking like they're in the fight, I think our battles today are probably going to be with the Ferraris and the Aston Martins. My goal this year is just consistency and just to try and, you know, get as many decent point hauls as we can, and maybe if we're lucky that brings us into a title fight. Otherwise, I just want to try and get a couple of wins on the board. 5 red lights here on the grid. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go here in Albert Park. Enzo Fittipaldi gets off to a nice clean start as we make our way in towards turn 1. Hopefully going to be a little less dramatic than in round 1 there as well. Look at that already. Alonso banging wheels with Verstappen at the front of the order there. The Frenchman trying to hang on alongside myself as Lance Stroll seems to have gone backwards. See, I mean, Esti Besti, he's trying to look for moves absolutely everywhere he can on this lap 1. He is hounding us in our car at the moment there as Perez has had a pretty bad start from 4th down to 6th as well. So Oscar Piastri and Enzo Fittipaldi making decent gains on lap 1 here. But of course this circuit absolutely dominated now by this back straight. Of course this entire sector is pretty much just flat out. So going to be really, really interesting to see kind of how all the cars fare with this throughout the weekend. As once again our top 4 seemingly exactly the same as it was last time out there, just all breaking free at the front of the order. Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, and both of those McLarens as well. As sort of Stroll, not sure what he's up to there on our inside, but we'll try and have a look all the way around him. Wheel to wheel through the final couple of corners, and yet again then, we've made up a couple of spots early on in a race. Stroll's still actually not willing to back out of this one. We'll just give him a bit of a pinch through the final corner there. Verstappen will still lead at the end of lap 1. So yeah, both Grand Prix so far, he's led at the end of that first lap.
Within 1 second of the car ahead and in the DRS zone.
And now I've got to try and make sure we stay inside the range of Enzo Fittipaldi. Well, Enzo Fittipaldi then in just his 2nd ever Formula 1 race. Bahrain was a little bit of a trial by fire for the young Brazilian, but yeah, this weekend I think he's looking a lot more racy and a lot more kind of prepared inside that Ferrari team. I mean, that was a big gamble by them. Never really one for taking on rookies, but this is F1 24, so Ferrari tend to do Ferrari things inside this game. As around the outside of Enzo we will go. Just felt like he was struggling to keep up with your front runners here, as Piastri again just struggling to really match your top 4 early on. Both he and Perez, that red flag really worked well for them out in Bahrain, so they'll maybe be hoping for the same thing today. But again, we just want to try and score some good points. Oscar Piastri, I'm sure he'd love a home win for the team in red as well. Well, Alonso and Verstappen here clearly are trying to use all of these DRS zones to put on a show. I mean, again, we've seen these two kind of there or thereabouts. Obviously, last season we battled with both of them for the Drivers' World Championship there as well. George Russell makes a bit of a mistake. Somehow, contact with Sergio Perez there doesn't lead to big amounts of front wing damage. That is one thing that still annoys me inside this game, is the way the AI kind of lock up and just kind of slam on the anchors with each other. It's also going to spread out our top 3 a little bit there. So Red Bull, Aston Martin and McLaren now bolting free. Oscar Piastri is going to be at the head of this straight now, trying to pursue.
I've got information on Fittipaldi. They seem to have an issue.
Oh, that's a shame. Enzo Fittipaldi then. Just as I said, he looked more confident here.
They're holding us up now, so let's please try and get past as soon as possible and get on with our race. Push, push.
Well, Mark apparently isn't going to let me get a word in edgeways. But yeah, Enzo Fittipaldi, I think we're going to see him very quickly start to drop away then. Technical gremlins for Ferrari here in just round 2. Russell to the outside of Oscar Piastri. That is a power move back into P4. And I'll be honest, I think we're probably better off having Russell leading this train. So we're going to try and get a run on Checo Perez. No, we're not. What on earth is that? This old Perez now is going to lock up.
Nice work.
I mean, this is already just scaring me early on in this race. We got front wing damage in Bahrain, admittedly. I would like to say that was through no fault of my own. We got absolutely sandwiched by the Aston Martins. I'd like to go through this Grand Prix without getting any, if possible. Well, we have left Oscar Piastri with a Ferrari that is stupidly quick in a straight line there. Is he going to be able to try and use that to close in on George Russell? No, he's not. We're going to box him in. Oh, behind the McLaren there, and, well, Mercedes' former driver getting overtaken by the man that replaced him. A little bit of wheel banging, but yeah, hometown hero, he will not like that. And now George Russell, of course, no DRS. He's going to be a sitting duck. Mercedes power versus Mercedes power. So can we try and have a look around the outside? I'll tell you what, this has got to be some of the most frantic early laps to a Grand Prix I feel like I've had in a long, long time. Everybody desperate to kind of try and find a way around each other. But Alonso still at the front of the order then, ahead of Max Verstappen. Could we see the Dutchman end up P2 back-to-back weekends? I tell you what, I don't want to speak too soon, and maybe it's just because the AI at the front are still battling it out with each other. But yeah, race day Sunday, this car really does feel like it's starting to come alive. Obviously in Bahrain, we just tried to sort of play it safe throughout most of the afternoon. You know, didn't want to risk anything, didn't want to kind of skew our image of this car, if you will. But here in Australia, it is working really, really nicely at the moment. I think the only issue we've got... Yeah, the only issue we've got is it actually seems to be quite low top speed limited. I remember back on F123, all of the Mercedes-powered cars were like 10 miles an hour slower in a straight line. I think that's the case as well on F124, so at tracks, say, like Vegas, we might really, really struggle. But here in Albert Park, obviously, you don't quite achieve VMAX normally. Just have a look as we make our way out onto the back straight there. You can see we comfortably get up over 200. By the time you get sort of like 216, we've got nothing left. Just look at that, 3 wide in front for the lead of this Grand Prix. Alonso again will just about hang on. But yeah, this is looking a little bit scary. We've had a couple of airplane crashes here before. Remember, all the way back in Season 1. So Lando Norris there caught a little bit napping on the exit of the corner. And well, one Brit's going to overtake another.
Nice work, mate. That brings you up a place.
I mean, could we get to the lead of this race just through courtesy of everybody else fighting? Oh, Alonso. Oh, Alonso just locked up slightly there. I thought, oh, he's going straight on, but somehow the Spaniard there able to gather it up once again. And I mean, it's just those little moments that make you think that you could lose the wing and it could completely ruin your race before we even get to half distance here. Let's see if we can try and attack him again. Mercedes power versus Mercedes power to the inside of Alonso will go. But look at the speed. Look at the speed we've got on Verstappen. Oh, we completely messed that up. Straight down the side of the wall. We're lucky we didn't get a puncture in that moment and just kind of completely taken by surprise. As the amount of speed we had in the car there, Verstappen will hang on. How on earth that hasn't ripped off a suspension arm or anything? I think it's probably F124's lack of sophisticated damage model. That's not good. Oh, we've been tagged by Perez as well. It's all going wrong. It's all going wrong at this moment. We'll try and see if we can get into the pit lane at the end of lap 10. I think we've absolutely shredded that set of tyres.
You're going to start losing some tyre grip anytime now.
Yeah, I think the loss of tyre grip has already happened, Mark, as into the pit lane will come then for a bit of an early stop. Not what I wanted to do this afternoon. Come on, and another slow pit stop. Are you having a laugh, Mercedes? Can they not do good pit stops in this game? Is this just something I wasn't aware of with the Brackley-based squad inside F124?
Okay, we had an issue attaching the left rear wheel. I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put that behind us now and get back into this race. Pit strategy complete. See these tyres through to the end now.
An absolute calamitous lap 11 then of this Grand Prix. Now we've got to try and dig deep and get ourselves back in that fight at the front. So there we go, loads of other cars then into the pit lane at the end of lap 13. I'm hoping we can come out somewhere near Sergio Perez again for the second half of this. But in our first battle for the lead this season, I just all went wrong so impossibly quickly. Mach 2 and 2 bottles are forever a staple on this channel. But as we make our way out the final corner then, we're going to be out ahead of Esteban Ocon.
Really good job on hitting that target, mate.
There is Oscar Piastri, though. Of course, he's still going to have to try and put some temperature back in his tyres. So we're not a million miles away. Oh, Oscar Piastri has been held up an absolute treat by Fred Vesti here at this stage of the afternoon. Hopefully we're going to see the Sauber driver into the pit lane at the end of this lap there as Lewis Hamilton in. Come on, let's just hope. Yep, there we go. So we should be back up then inside the top 10 there. I mean, Hamilton has had an absolute disaster of an Australian Grand Prix up to this point. We're still ahead of Stroll. We're going to be right out with Sergio Perez. Well, hopefully we can switch on the exit of turn 1. Oh, that was a little bit scary. Kind of doing a wall of death there around the outside of Checo. But up into P6. We're in the DRS of Oscar Piastri. So we've got to try and work with him to get back up with the front runners. There we go. Another back marker drops out of another Grand Prix. Fred Vesti. Disappointment for him out of this race. And well, he was a long way, I think, behind the rest of your runners anyway. So Sauber maybe just trying to save some mileage on that engine. And well, Zhou Guanyu obviously last season scored points in Bahrain, and then Sauber went pointless throughout the rest of the year.
Okay to use your overtake button.
Zhou Guanyu hasn't scored points last weekend in Bahrain, so I think it's going to be another sad year for the Sauber team. Maybe at some point on this game I need to try and do like a Sauber career mode, because they're definitely unfairly screwed inside this title as we've flown past Oscar Piastri down the back straight. It's either I go to Haas or I go to Sauber to finish off this game. Closer to the time, you guys will have to let me know. Well, the battle of two Brits, I think, is about to become the battle of three there. Russell and Norris, I mean, they're trying to pull off power moves against each other. This is like watching them back in their Formula 2 days. Haven't seen them battle as much in Formula 1, sadly, but I'm sure, yeah, we'll get, you know, plenty of great racing between these two, you know, over the next sort of decade or so, which is quite impressive to think about as well there. But Lando Norris makes his way through the final corner. He seems to just be a little bit more vulnerable than George right now. There is Alonso still waiting to line up a move on Max Verstappen. How can we try and move our way past both McLarens and then ideally still leave them to fight each other there? I mean, look at that. Norris doing what I did earlier on, almost putting himself in the wall to try and find room around his teammate. But again, he has to stare at the back of the sister car. Mercedes power versus Mercedes power versus Mercedes power here. Let's see what we can do as we make our way out onto the back straight. Oh, that was not good. And now Norris suddenly is going to be the one with an avenue there. 3 wide into the chicane we go. That was never going to work out. And all three of us were never going to make it through on the exit. I think Russell, though, has run out of battery there. So he's gone too aggressive with his charge. And you can see immediately how much speed they're able to carry.
Strange readings from a couple of the sensors.
Of course we are.
Just some bad data. So keep doing what you're doing. I'll let you know if we notice any genuine problems.
Codies, I beg of you, please just remove that radio message at this point. It is so frustrating. But Russell dropping back then, that might be his podium hopes gone in an instant here. But we've still got a battle with Lando Norris to have. Well, gaining on the McLaren man, right on his diffuser by the time we get down to the end of that first straight. But you may as well wait for it and try and just unleash all the pace you can through the exit of the second one there. Oh, Norris desperately tried to fling it back down the inside on the exit of the corner there. That was a very desperate dive bomb, but back into the podium places we go late on in the day. Alonso and Verstappen, they are still slowing each other down towards the end of this. 6 laps left of the Australian Grand Prix. Who on earth is going to come out on top? Oh, these are critical moments in this race as Alonso once again will swoop around the outside of Max Verstappen, but just 2 laps left of the Australian Grand Prix. And are we finally going to get ourselves back in the DRS of our top 2 here? I mean, all day long we have been fighting. I think we've lacked the out-and-out pace of some of our rivals, but just the AI's ability to battle here is almost detrimental to themselves. because they just seem to lose out more and more time as the races go on. But I mean, Alonso and Verstappen, there's no loyalty between these two, of course. They've never worked together in the same team or anything like that, so they'll both be trying to hunt down victory. Obviously, Verstappen, he's come up short already this year after a disappointing end in Bahrain. Fernando Alonso never really was in the shot and never really in the hunt for the win in the season opener, but if he could kickstart this campaign with a victory as well there, that would do him wonders. And that Aston Martin team, of course, with this only being a 16-race season, it really does mean that every race as well is just that little bit more important there. As here comes Verstappen once again to the outside of the Spaniard there. And once again, Max Verstappen will sweep through and back to the lead of the Grand Prix there. We'll try to attack the curbing on the exit. Alonso, he doesn't have the DRS, but we're just not quite able to get close enough that time around there. Little pinch of the brakes into the braking zone. We cannot afford to bottle it now late on in this Grand Prix. We made one mistake. We span earlier on in this Grand Prix, let's not forget, and also unveiled our new 2-on-2 lawn mowing services. But with just one lap to go here in Albert Park, it is anybody's guess who's going to win this. We saw a pass for the win in Bahrain on the last lap. It looks like we could see a pass for the win here as well, as Lando, Norris and George Russell tripped each other over. I don't think they're going to be in with a shot for the victory unless something crazy happens. But Verstappen desperately trying to hang on. He's been in this position before, though, already this season. Will the Dutchman this time round be able to convert to a victory here as we try and get a good run out onto the back straight? We've got a little bit in reserve in our battery, but are we going to see Alonso try and battle with the Dutchman once again there? Will he get close enough as we make our way down the back straight? He's going to try and have a look for it. Verstappen's really going to squeeze him. They're going to go wheel to wheel through the chicane there, and Alonso is going to make it through. We're now going to try and have a look around the outside of the Dutchman as well. He's got no battery left. Max Verstappen, once again, just like we saw in the season opener in Bahrain, he's going to start the last lap in the lead, but he is not going to finish it. Will it be Alonso? Will we be able to try and have a look past the Spaniard on the run up towards the line through the final corner? Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin, they are going to win here in Australia.
The old master has done it again. Fernando Alonso takes the checkered flag.
What a wonderful drive to see them come from far down the grid to win the race. Those days are the ones that throw the biggest challenges at you, and to stick out and win it is an incredible job.
Aston Martin's performance today has shown that they can be competitive with the biggest names in the sport. They're making their way out onto the podium now as we speak, and the reaction from the crowd must be incredibly uplifting for them.
Well, there we are then, and our second different winner in the opening two Grand Prix this season. I think we could be in for a really special campaign there. Fernando Alonso takes the victory here in Australia. We get our own and Mercedes' first podium of the year, and with fastest lap as well. Goes to show that this car does have pace in it when we get everything all hooked up. Verstappen only in P3 in the end there. I'm sure he will be gutted once again with Norris, Perez and George Russell there. Top 6 covered by less than 2.5 seconds come the checkered flag. Local hero Oscar Piastri only in P7 in the end. In fact, he was the only driver inside the top 10 who started exactly where he finished. Lance Stroll, Esteban Ocon and Carlos Sainz as well, picking up some points. Further down the order though, Hamilton, no idea what happened to him, down in P13. Enzo Fittipaldi again struggling in that Ferrari this time round with some reliability gremlins there, as Fred Vesti and Pierre Gasly both failed to see the checkered flag. What does that do though to our standings? Well, it means Russell now has a 1-point lead at the top of the table over Verstappen. Alonso still in P3 there, and there's 5 points between your top 4. after the opening 2 races as well. Like I said, this season, I think consistency is going to pay off the most, but trying to just get as many big point hauls as you can is going to be absolutely essential as well there. I mean, Enzo Fittipaldi down in what, like 14th place overall, Hamilton down in 15th place after the opening couple of races. I'm really hoping we can see Lewis pick up the pace in the next couple of Grand Prix as well there. Red Bull still lead the Constructors, 9 ahead of McLaren, 12 ahead of Aston Martin. I think our fight this year is going to be with Mercedes though, sorry, with Ferrari even. Of course, I'm used to being a Ferrari driver. And then, yeah, VCarb, Alpine and Haas all still with points on the board as well. But thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready at Suzuka.